Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Dana. I was born and raised in Kentucky in the United States, and I make videos to help you learn English through American culture and everyday life. Everyone, welcome. Today, we have another Reddit video. Reddit is a website where you can have online discussions about various topics. This website is very popular in the US, and people share their opinions and experiences on it. Today's topic is related to a video I made a couple of weeks ago about language learning. You don't need to watch that video before watching this one, but if you're interested in how I personally learned a couple of foreign languages, check out that video. Anyway, yes, today we're going to focus on language learning. This time, focusing especially on foreign language education in the US. Foreign language education. So, how American students learn and study foreign languages in school. And I want to talk about this because there is a stereotype that Americans are really bad at foreign languages. Have you ever heard that before? There is a stereotype that Americans can only speak English, or Americans don't want to learn foreign languages. And actually, when I studied abroad in Japan, I met some people who believed this, who thought this way. They were from Europe, and when they saw me speaking Japanese fluently, they were very surprised. One guy said to me, "Wow, you can speak Japanese? I didn't expect that from an American." Yeah, so that means because I'm American, he didn't expect me to be able to speak a second language. Interesting, right? And as I remember that, it made me think. It might be interesting to read some comments from Reddit about this topic. So what is foreign language education really like in the US? Do American people themselves think they or we are bad at foreign languages? Are there some reasons people think this way? We're going to try to answer these questions today. And this will also be a great chance to learn vocabulary and phrases that Americans actually use. All right, let's get started. First, I'm going to read the title of the Reddit thread and the original post. On Reddit, first someone asks a question, right? And then people answer it. This question is called the original post. And after that, I will read a few comments, kind of explaining some important vocabulary and sharing my opinion a little bit. I have cut some information from the comments, so if you would like to see the original full Reddit thread, the full post, please check the video description. Okay, the title of this thread is the quality of foreign language education really that bad in the US? And the original post says, I keep hearing jokes about Spanish and French classes from American media, that these classes are truly bad. Is it really that bad in the US? Or is it just a comedic exaggeration? So this person heard that American foreign language education is not very good. Oh, one thing, I think the reason they specifically said Spanish and French is because these are the most common foreign language classes offered in the US. Anyway, they want to know if this is true, if the education quality is actually bad, or if this is just a comedic exaggeration. They said comedic means something related to comedy, right? Something that's funny. And then exaggeration means showing something as bigger than it really is, making it seem more extreme. So this person wants to know if the language classes are actually poor quality or if the media is just exaggerating. Let's see what people said. So these comments are, of course, I can't confirm 100%, but we can be pretty sure that these comments were written by Americans. Now, the first comment says, the classes are fine. The problem is that once the classes are done, most kids never use the language again. People outside the US don't really understand how geographically isolated it is. Except for a few places in the South, you won't hear anyone speaking anything besides English. Okay. So this person said that the classes themselves aren't bad, but there is a problem. The US is geographically isolated, they said. Geographically means the location in the world, and isolated means separated, not close to other places. In other words, the US is quite far from other countries. Because of this, there aren't many chances to hear languages other than English, and people don't have a chance to practice their second language. That is what this person is saying. Let me talk a little about my experience with this. I can relate to what this commenter is saying. I'm from Kentucky, and in my hometown, there are not many people from foreign countries, not many people who come from abroad. I very rarely hear people speaking another language. But I actually recently moved to a more urban area. That means like a city, it's a small city. And here, I have had more chances to hear people speaking languages other than English. But still, I've almost never come across a situation where I needed to speak a foreign language. If you only know English in this area, you'll never have any problem in your daily life. So I can understand the point they're making here. But what do you guys think? A lot of my viewers, a lot of you guys are from Japan, right? And Japan is also considered an isolated country, I think. So do you think this affects how people view foreign languages in Japan? Or if you live in an isolated country, not only Japan, any isolated country, do people around you seem less interested in learning a foreign language? I'm curious, so let me know in the comments what you think. Next, let's move on to the next comment. It says, in general, the quality of schools in the US varies dramatically. Each state and often each town will fund schools differently. In most of the US, only wealthy areas have good schools. This comment is saying that education quality in the US varies dramatically. Dramatically means very, a lot. So it varies a lot. Maybe some of you know this, but in the US, each state can have very different laws. So how they fund or how they use money for schools can be very different. This person says that only wealthy areas, that means rich areas, where people have more money, tend to have better schools. So students who live in not so wealthy areas may not be able to take high quality language classes. I think this point is good to keep in mind. In the US, maybe some of you have heard, we have a big issue here called a wealth gap. That means there are some really rich people and some really poor people. This comment kind of shows one effect of that. So I think this is important to consider. The next comment says, the issue with foreign language classes in the US is they're mostly not offered until high school, and you only take them for 1 or 2 years. This is in stark contrast to other countries where foreign language learning begins at a much younger age. Okay, this comment is highlighting 2 points. First, when foreign language education begins and how long we receive this education. This person says these classes are usually not offered until high school and only offered for 1 or 2 years in the US. They said this is in stark contrast to other countries. Stark means completely or absolutely, and contrast means different. So, stark contrast means completely different. They said in other countries, people learn languages much earlier in their life, so this is completely different from the US. That is what they're saying. And from my experience, this is pretty much true. I do remember watching Spanish videos in elementary school, like the first grade of elementary school. I was super young. I think the school was trying to get us interested in Spanish, but it didn't really work. I can barely remember it, actually. The first actual language class I could take was in high school, and that was French. So that is the same as what this person is saying. Also, yes, in the US, usually you only need to take a foreign language for 2 years in high school and also 2 years in college. But if you take a placement test that kind of measures your level and get a high score, you don't need to take any foreign language classes in college. So in some cases, yeah, it may only be 2 years of foreign language in total. Yeah, I do think the requirements for foreign language in the US can be considered kind of easy or loose, thinking about it now. But I'm curious, what are the requirements for foreign language education in your country? In other words, how many years do you have to learn a foreign language? And when do you usually start? Let me know in the comments so we can compare a little bit. Okay, this next comment is short, but it mentions something I want to bring up. It says, when I went to school here, only French and Spanish were offered. Neither class was taught by a native speaker of that language. My experience matches up pretty well with this comment as well. At my high school, we only had Spanish or French. Those were our 2 choices for foreign language. And my French teacher wasn't a native speaker. Now, she was still a great teacher. I really liked her. But I do think it's somewhat rare to have native language teachers in the US, especially in rural areas and especially at the high school level. When you get into university, I think there tend to be a bit more native speakers as the teachers, but in high school especially, it's somewhat rare to have a native speaker as your teacher. So in your country, are foreign language classes usually taught by a native speaker? Do you think having a native speaker as a teacher is important? Let me know what you think. Okay, up to this point, I have only shared comments that give reasons for why American foreign language education quality is low. These comments have been a bit negative so far. And as a whole on this thread, a lot of comments were on this side, but I did also see some comments from people who were successful, who had a good experience in their language classes. So let's read those comments as well. The next comment is, they may be considered bad because of the fact it's forced onto the students. I myself actually really enjoyed Spanish class and learned a lot. Not only that, but I also became more interested in learning languages as a whole because of it. So this person says that learning a foreign language is forced onto students. That means they have to learn it. They don't get to choose. That might be why many students are not interested or they lose interest quickly. But this person had a positive experience in their Spanish class. They said they became more interested in languages in general, which is really nice to see. And I kind of had a similar experience. In high school, I took French for 4 years. I stopped studying it after high school, but that experience showed me that learning languages, just in general, is really fun. It opens you up to a new world, you could say. So this actually made me want to study Japanese even more. That was my experience. Now on to the last comment. This is also sharing a positive story. From Texas, took 4 years of Spanish and spoke it regularly while I lived there. Spent around 15 years away, and now I can get by reading and listening, but I struggle with holding a conversation, especially in places where the locals speak Spanish fast. Okay, so this person is from Texas and studied Spanish there. As many of you may know, there are quite a lot of Spanish speakers in Texas. So this commenter said they could speak really well at that time, and 15 years later, they can still get by reading and listening. Get by means you're not super good at it, but you can still do it. They have maintained some of their reading and listening skills, but they said they struggle to hold a conversation. Struggle means to have a trouble. That means something is difficult. Okay? And this makes sense to me. If you don't practice for a while, you start to lose your language ability, right? Especially your speaking ability. But it's still nice to see someone retain some of their second language ability, even long after graduating high school. It seems like there are some Americans who found their language classes helpful. So I'm happy to see that. And after reading these comments, we can see some overall themes, right? So there's this idea that American people aren't really interested in foreign languages because there's no chance for them to use them. And these classes are just seen as a requirement for graduation, to graduate. However, as shown in the last two comments, there are some people, including me, who develop a passion for foreign languages and continue studying even after graduation. Yeah, in my case, I chose to keep studying Japanese after school. Well, in my case, they didn't even offer Japanese classes. It was totally just my personal interest. And because I enjoyed it so much, I made sure I could use it every day. But without that daily use and without that kind of passion, I probably would have forgotten most of it too. Yeah. So to wrap up this video, let me know your experiences and thoughts in the comments. Do you think the foreign language education quality in your country is good or not so good? If not, how can it be improved? Do you have any ideas? Or, I like this question too. How has learning a foreign language changed your life? I'm very curious what you guys have to say, so let me know in the comments. We'll wrap the video up here. Thank you for watching to the end. I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.